You know, the mind is really funny, and it tries to convince us that we are that which we are not. So I woke up at like 4:30 a.m. this morning here in New Jersey, and I laid there, tried to go back to sleep. It wasn't happening, so I thought, you know what, I'll go outside on my porch, which I don't do nearly enough. And so I went outside, sat on my porch, and there's like green everywhere, trees and a nice green lawn and trees across the street, and the birds were so beautiful and loud. It was a cacophony of bird calls. It was just so sweet, and I just sat there and, you know, took it in and just breathed, and it was really nice. Just felt really content and good. And you know, so eventually I got up and walked back in through my front door. And as I was walking through the front door, you know, you're a horrible father, right? You know, everything that you're doing is to the detriment of your daughter. I was like, what? You know, and it's a familiar voice. I'm familiar with it, but it just hasn't been around much lately. But there it was. There I was in just like contentment and beauty, and then there's that thought. And I went, nope, not buying it, and walked on. So it was uncomfortable. I didn't like it, made me feel bad. I realized I was familiar with it, and then I chose against it. I don't believe that thought anymore, you know. And now I've been practicing that for a long time, not believing those thoughts. So it's taken time to get here, but ultimately, you know, have that power to choose not to believe it. You know, and it's on and on and on like that. And the mind, for some reason, attempts to convince us that that's who we are, those thoughts. And it's not just that thought, it's all the thoughts. It's the constant back and forth, and my bills, and oh, I gotta find a new motorcycle helmet, and what am I gonna do today? And I've gotta get my kid, and oh, I haven't talked to my mom, and oh my God, I don't know what's gonna happen next year, and my daughter graduates, and oh, that fight I had with my best friend yesterday, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's exhausting, it's annoying. And worse, it tries to convince me that that's who I am. I am all those thoughts. And I'm realizing that that's just not true. It's a part of my experience, but it's not nearly who I am. I like to think about it this way. I was just actually talking with a client about it this morning, which inspired me to make this video. Think about the ocean, right? And that's all of the oceans covering the earth, covering, you know, the vast majority of the earth, right? There's all this ocean, and the ocean's really deep too, so it's massive, what the ocean is. And it's full of so much, you know, there's the water, and there's the salt, and there's the various other things that are, you know, in the water itself, and then there's all the life, there's all the bacteria, and all the organisms, and all the fish, and all the algae and the plants and all the things that are in the ocean, right? It's full, it's robust. There's just so much to it. And it's massive, and it's like kind of it's inescapable, you know, the existence of it and our experience of this massive ocean on the earth. Yet, oftentimes what we come into contact with is this top, you know, like, you know, 6 inches of the ocean. It's what we tend to see if we're at the beach looking out at the ocean, or if we're in the bay looking out at the ocean. We see, you know, all these waves. You know, they're being whipped around by the wind and by the weather. There's spray from the waves. There's the white caps that come from the waves. There's the constant rolling in of the waves at the shore, at the beach, that surfers like to use for fun. There's all this activity, all this chatter. It's very busy on the top, you know, 6 inches, 12 inches of the entire massive ocean. And we believe that that's what the ocean is, because that's what we see. And similarly, we believe that that's what we are. We're the thoughts, we're all that chatter, we're that, you know, top 6 inches of our experience. It's that which is most visible and that which is most loud, right? But meanwhile, under the surface, We are this expanse, full, robust, filled with so much life to it. But how often do we access that when we're busy believing that we're all these thoughts and changing sensations, on the surface of our body, and the changing, sometimes volatile emotions, and so when we believe that that's who we are, we miss the vastness of who we are as human beings. The way we miss the vastness and the robustness of the ocean when we believe it's just those waves and the ocean spray at that top layer. So what if we spent some more time practicing not believing that those thoughts are who we are, right? The thoughts may never stop, kind of like the way those waves on the top of the ocean are never going to stop, right? They're just going to keep on happening. It's natural, it's normal, it's part of just what happens. But what if we stop believing that that's who we are, and we sit quietly, return to our breaths, notice and watch the waves and all the action and all the chatter in our minds, and practice not believing that that's who we are. Then I get to question, well, who am I? Who am I really? And we can have the experience of the vastness. So you start by returning to your breath and feeling the undulation of the inhale and the exhale, very much like the very natural undulation of the ocean on the Earth's surface, right? There's this very natural undulation happening with the phases of the moon, the daily changes in the tide from the moon. Helps us to get in touch with what's under the surface and what's really there. And it takes practice. So let's practice seeing who we really are. Thanks for listening.